Need a little bit of education on those, just a little bit. But then we will bring up our main speaker tonight, Eddie Speed. So I'll just get started real quick. But first of all, I want to say thank you for everyone for joining us. We know that you guys have a lot of options when it comes, Dear Tuesday night. So we do appreciate you coming and spending it with us, getting some education. So you will notice that you do have some flyers in front of you, as you'll see all these pretty colors. These are all of our upcoming events. So I'm just going to run through them just real quick. All the ones that you see up here on the slides will be for you here in these flyers if you guys want to take them home. But first, we have our self-directed IRA social. So you are here. You obviously know we have it going on. But definitely tell your friends about it, because this is our big once a month in-person event that we are bringing back for 2022. All of our other classes, we're going to try to keep them as webinars for now until we kind of, see how everything is going with the pandemic. But our self-directed IRA socials are going to be on the third Tuesday of every month, live right here in our office. If you want to join online for the other ones in our other offices, or if you're just dying to drive down to Austin or Houston, we do have them in those offices as well. The first Tuesday is in Houston, the second Tuesday is in Austin, and of course we've got the third one here in Dallas. So those are always great, really good networking and education. For our realtors in the room, we have a CE that is coming up. It's a free course. If you're looking for continuing credit education hours, we do provide those. And we also serve you guys lunch if we have it in person. Unfortunately, this one isn't, but if you're a CPA, we do have an in-person one for y'all. So this one's going to be a hybrid. We are actually doing this for the very first time. We're going to start giving CPE credits for CPAs. So continuing education for those CPAs that need some, we're going to be teaching a course about how it relates to self-directed IRAs. So again, that one's 2.5 hours. It's free if you'd like to join in person. That is in our Houston office, but you can also join online to get credit as well. This is probably one of my favorite events that we have coming up. If you have been to our March Madness event the past couple years, the big, how to invest with 10K or less, this is kind of the follow-up to that event. So we're switching sports, we're doing baseball now, and we're doing Major League Investing. So it's how to hit a home run deal. We're gonna have a bunch of guest speakers sharing their case studies, and then, we'll line them up first, second, third base and see which one makes it all the way to home base. We'll have an umpire as a judge, but they'll be getting a lot of feedback from the audience. You guys will also help to judge to see who has the best case study. But this one's going to be a really, really big event. It's a lunch and learn. It's in person. So definitely be getting that one on your radar and register for that one. If you do miss any of them, you can stream them all on Facebook and YouTube. And we also have a virtual networking happy hour. If you're not really looking for the education, but just want to join online to network, do join us on the fourth Wednesday. That one switched. So if you're familiar with that, it used to be the first and third. Now it is the fourth Wednesday. This is my last slide. I saved the best for last. The Quest Expo is returning. So if you've been to the Quest Expo before, you know that we have had upwards of 500 to 600 people at this event. It is the biggest self-directed IRA conference in the nation. We bring out over 30 to 40 vendors and speakers, probably some of the highest level education that you can get. But even for those that are just beginners, we'll have some of those panels and keynotes as well. If you do want to get a ticket to that, this one is paid, probably the only event that we have that actually is paid. But it's well worth it. And tickets right now are in pre-sale. So if you do want to get registered, I'll be in the back for the whole rest of the event. I'll have an iPad. And if you do want to get registered tonight, I'll give you 30% off, but you didn't hear that from me. And without that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Derek. If you want to get in contact with us, this is our information. Derek will actually be the one who you'll be speaking to. So I'm going to pass the mic over to him to give you a little bit more information about self-directed IRAs.
Thank you, Sarah. Hey, guys, guess what? She just got accepted for her master's degree to ASU tonight. When I say she just got accepted, it's about an hour ago. Ooh, it's a good job, Sarah. So it was funny. When she got accepted, you should have seen her. She almost cried. She was like so excited. It was awesome. So today, I wanted to talk real briefly just about some self-directed IRA tips and tricks and things like that before I introduce our main speaker. But the reason why is lately it seems like Congress has actually really been attacking the self-directed world. And it's weird because lately, all the way up until 2020, self-directed IRAs have really been mainly gone unnoticed. We've been able to use our Roth IRAs and we've been able to grow them tax-free and stuff. And lately, they've really been being looked at. So if you have a CPA, if you have an attorney, right, and they might have questions about self-directed IRAs or you have questions about self-directed IRAs, I wanted to stress to you to reach out to us, okay? We literally do have special certifications with the American Banking Association that says we read tax code on retirement accounts. Do you know how boring that is? Do you know how well it pays, though? All right. So my job is literally to be here and help answer any questions that you guys have. So that was it. I just want to really stress this aspect. Make sure you reach out to us. The phone number you see on the screen is 100% non-automated. I think for the last company in the world, you call, someone answers. You don't press 1 for this, you don't press 2 for that, etc. Do you like that poll? Awesome. For those of you online, there's a guy sitting here that he's sat in the worst spot in the room. He has a poll in front of him. It sucks. All right. So without any further ado, though, I really want to talk a little bit about our next speaker. So in order to talk about him, I got to talk a little bit about myself. This is because I didn't start off in real estate, right? And I started off and I did what a lot of people do, and I think you start looking for a mentor. You start looking for someone to maybe help educate you in the real estate realm. And I have, because of these unique certifications in the IRAs, I get to travel across the U.S., right? Literally later this week, I'm going to Atlanta, all right, to give a class to some CPAs and attorneys. Next week, I'll be in California giving a similar class. And 3 weeks from now, I'll be in North Carolina. Now, what's unique about these events is every one of them have a different, what I'm going to label as a mentor. Someone that really can teach about topics in real estate. But you know what's really sad is I see a lot of mentors come and go. I see a lot of people come and they start off in the business, they help some people, then they just kind of fade away. And what's really funny is I got to meet our up-and-coming speaker. My dad met him close to 15 years ago, give or take, but I actually really got to meet him in 2017. And since then, he has not only changed my life, but changed me and my wife and her parents' life. We have currently hold right now inside our IRAs and outside of IRAs combined a total of about 12 promissory notes. Now, you might not be like, oh my God, that looks like a whole bunch. But I'm 35 years old making a decent amount in passive income that really helps in these areas. So without any further ado, I want to bring up probably one of my closest friends, probably one of the best mentors to talk about real estate in general, Mr. Eddie Speed. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
I'm going to go in the back.
Thank you very much. Well, about 20 years ago, I founded NoteSchool. I started in the industry in 1980. I was a seller finance guy, and I worked for my father-in-law and a partner at 20 years old, and I really got started with this idea of doing notes. My wife and I married in 1982, and we moved to Dallas-Fort Worth, right here in North Dallas at the time. And by 1986, the most profitable company in all of the businesses in town was a sign company. Put signs out in front of buildings. Because they made a killing changing the signs out in front of banks. Because every bank in town changed their name, right? About 10 times. And by 1988, we were full bore buying non-performing notes from a government entity called the Resolution Trust Corporation, the RTC. So I had a swing or two at this non-performing note thing, right? In 2008, we could see the writing on the wall that there was this avalanche of notes. By 2010, honestly, about 80% of NoteSchool at that time was coming to NoteSchool to learn about non-performing notes. Now, I've been teaching seller finance notes. I set up the note system for home investors. I've bought 50,000 notes. So I've been in the note space, active in the business for a long time. But specifically, tonight, I'm going to zero in on this market niche of non-performing notes. Where are they? Where do they exist? And why do they exist? How many of you would say that you've heard in the news in the last month there's an avalanche coming of non-performing notes? So 3 of you. That's because it's not on CNN. It's not on Fox. It's not something that local real estate investors know, but it doesn't make it not a fact. So what we teach are voids in the market. Now, I started doing this in 1980. I've made a living in the creative finance, real estate, note space, doing different things since 1980. But that's been what I've learned is I am a void seeker. If you're in a business that everybody else is in, Warren Buffett would hate your business. If you're in a business that most people don't know about, Warren Buffett might love your business. Right? Warren Buffett said, when people are scared, be greedy. And when people are greedy, be scared. Tonight, we're going to talk about the biggest variable in real estate. Residential real estate is on fire. And take this from a guy that's been doing this for a while, right? I would say as an educational company related to real estate and creative finance, we generate on a weekly basis lots of data, lots of facts, lots of market research. NoteSchool TV once a month has a market update with lots of trends, lots of facts. So we're trying to pay attention to beyond the headlines. Okay? So what I'm going to show you tonight is not in the headlines. It doesn't mean it's not real. Now, it may be in the headlines for the rags we read, right? You know, there's the mortgage banking industry, the REO industry, the distressed asset industry prints this stuff every day. It's not like nobody says it. It's just not in our mainstream. When I mentioned this to Nathan, he said, this is what our audience needs to know. Because once again, what you need to know is how to find a bargain in an on-fire market. Now, anybody can go overpay. And right now, if you just go buy a piece of real estate, I'm going to be honest with you, my humble opinion, you're probably going to overpay. Right? Anybody can do that. It didn't take any special knowledge. Right? You guys can have a property under contract by noon tomorrow. The question is it a bargain? So why notes? And what's the surge in the market? And what do we see ahead? What does this look like? Everybody familiar with who Black Knight is? Black Knight is one of the 3 data firms that produce essentially all of the data for every hedge fund in the world. They're data geeks and they're good at it. Black Knight generates a report every quarter that we do a book review of in NoteSchool TV called The Mortgage Monitor. And it talks about the underlying stories and the underlying things. This represents mortgages that are delinquent but not in forbearance. There's 2 different categories of loans that aren't paying. The ones that you've read about and heard about on TV are loans that have a legal agreement with the borrower that says you don't have to pay. That category is called a forbearance. So they have a legal agreement with the lender that says, we know you're not paying and we're okay with you not paying. Now that number was a big number about 9 months ago. It's now shrunk to about 1 million loans. Okay? Loans that are in forbearance of about 1 million loans, about 500,000 of them have applied for a modification. Here's an interesting thing. According to Black Knight this past week, 500,000 of them haven't done anything, which tells us really that they're not really going to be a modified loan. Everybody thought every loan in forbearance was going to be modified. Well, any seasoned person from where I've sat, no, that's not true. You could have taken a recording of something I said 12 months ago, Joe, a student of mine that was listening to me 12 months ago. I said no more than 50% will ever be modified. Now, by the way, modified loans do not have a history of doing well. In the last cycle, modified loans had a 55% redefault rate. So just because they modify doesn't mean that the sticky factor is there, but it does mean that at the moment they're off the table. These are loans that are not modified. How many are there? So let me just help you, because I know it's a chart. It's a little hard to read. You see that number right there? How much is that number? That says 2,039,000 loans are delinquent and not in forbearance. If I would ask you to write a number on a piece of paper before I gave you that number, would you have written that number down? No way. You see, Eddie, you don't understand. I've read the headlines. I know real estate investors. Everything's on fire. Everything's great. We make a living understanding the voids. That's where the payday is. That's where bargains are. You don't find a bargain going and paying retail plus. That ain't a bargain. Now, you may want to go do that. Godspeed to you if you do. But this old cowboy ain't going to do that. What I'm going to do is find a void. This is a void. 2,039,000 loans. So you might ask yourself, well, I wonder how much in amounts of loans. So this is from the Mortgage Monitor, and it says loans that at the end of October. Now, these reports are always delayed. You just have to understand that. You're never going to get one of these reports that are like 2 weeks old, right? But the trends are what the trends are. And if you look over there, this is principal. This is taxes and insurance. This is principal and interest. And that is between 40 and 50. And that B after that means billion. Now, I've heard it said, I don't need to eat the whole pie. If I find the right kind of pie, I could just eat a little slice of the pie. Okay? That's what NoteSchool teaches, right? In NoteSchool, we've had guys that run substantial hedge funds that have been students in NoteSchool. I had a guy in my office 2 weeks ago that manages 160,000 loans. I would consider him a very close friend. Right? So I've dealt with guys that play at that space, and I will assure you that none of those guys that play at that space will argue anything that I'm saying. By the way, of those 160,000 loans, he has 32,000 headed for a notice of default. This represents an even higher number, and that is they're delinquent on taxes and insurance. Now, here's what I would say to you. The first time I ever bought non-performing notes was in 2006. Was anybody like alive and living in 2006 here in Dallas-Fort Worth? Okay. Now, you're a youngster. Godspeed to you, brother. Let me just tell you, I was about your age in 2006. And all of a sudden, we found out something. You couldn't give a piece of real estate away, right? You couldn't give a piece of real estate away. I bought thousands of notes in that era. It was called the RTC days, right? I was swinging a bat. 1998, there was another cycle. I was swinging a bat again, buying NPLs, non-performing loans. This ain't my first rodeo, so to speak, right? 2008 was the grand finale. But every market I've ever been able to buy non-performing notes, real estate was going like this. In 40 years, now 42 years in this business, the first time I've ever seen that you could buy distressed notes at discounts and have real estate going like this, that would be now. And let me just tell you something. This cowboy is latched up because I've been doing this long enough to know that I know what a bargain looks like. That's why you're here, right? Is it real? Can you do it? How would it work? Now, the FHA loans have had a far deeper delinquency than Fannie Mae. Call it 4 times the amount of delinquency. Fannie Mae loans actually are not really in trouble. The delinquency result of the virus in Fannie Mae loans are not bad. FHA has been not in a good way. Now, let me tell you this. There are government-sponsored loans and there are non-government sponsored loans, okay? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, and VA are government-sponsored loans. They call them GSEs, government-sponsored enterprise, okay? That is not what we're chasing. I'm just trying to simply say to you that even the best underwritten government loans have some serious problems. What we buy are loans that fall outside of GSEs. And there's some licensing and there's government requirements and there's all kind of different reasons why you would not want to chase that. So if somebody tells you you're going to go chase FHA loans, that's a lie from the pits of hell. That's not the market. That's not what you're going to buy. But let me give you some sense of the market. There was 500,000 loans that were delinquent before the virus started. 500,000. Those loans, the lenders on their books charged those loans down. It's kind of like a department store when they get clothes that have been there too long. They charge them down. Those loans are now what is exiting our market. Non-GSE loans that were delinquent before the virus. You can Google this, and they call these legacy loans. That's the honey hole at the moment. I don't know if you think you can find some way to find a slice of the pie within 500,000 loans, but hopefully you think you could, right? So let's just talk about the big picture for a minute. How does this work? What does the market look like? How would these loans end up in a world that you could do this? Now, in the RTC days, it worked one way. In 2008, it worked a very different way. So this method, this industry standard, was really set up as a result of 2008. And the market exists and the way it works exists, right? So home buyer buys a house. They get the keys to the house the day they buy the house. They have the right of occupancy. And then they sign a mortgage note, a promise to pay, right? Secured by real estate. And they make their payments over time. That's a good thing, right? And so they've signed this mortgage note, and the characteristics of this loan is it has a principal amount, it has an interest rate, it has monthly payments, and it has an amortization term. Now that's a general statement. It wouldn't legally have to have an interest rate. It wouldn't legally have to have a monthly payment. It could be annual, it could be all, but that's just that's what home mortgages generally look like, okay? The home buyer come in and he put his John Henry on the note. He signed the note. He signed the dotted line, right? And you've heard them called all kind of different things: paper, home loans, mortgages. You've heard them called all these things. So if I refer to this as a one thing, just know that there's just kind of a whole world of little things that could really be described as the same thing. Now, once those payments are made to the bank over time, right, the bank's got cash flow. And when that happens, their mailbox gets bigger. That's why I like buying performing notes. I have a lot of experience buying non-performing notes. That's not what we're talking about tonight, but that's the concept. It's how it works. It's way easier to own a note than a rental house. Let me just tell you that. If the rental house thing has gotten you down, there is a better way. So if the loan is paid at the end, the mortgage company is going to release the mortgage against your property, and now you have a deed, a free and clear property, no mortgage. Well, can we all agree that's a winner, right? That's a successful loan. Okay? And the reason I say that is you have to understand that loans end up in different valleys. This is the good valley. This is the one that pays. What about loans that don't pay? So loans that don't pay, generally the banks, the big operators, sell these loans as delinquent into the secondary market. I can tell you that I'm 100% sure, after a 40-year career in this industry, there is an avalanche of banks that are sending notice of default. Let me just say an avalanche. I don't want to name a specific bank. I don't want to name a specific company, but I have executive team and staff that have worked for big shops, big box places that do everything from property preservation to REO sales and all that kind of stuff. And let me just tell you something. They ain't nobody in that industry that says it ain't coming over the mountain. It's going to happen in a big way. Now, guess what? Next summer, you might see it on TV. The whole world may know about it, right? Right now, we got a secret, right? It's not a secret if you work for a big loan servicer. It's not a secret if you attend Mortgage Banker Association meetings. It's not a secret in that world. It's just somehow kind of a weird secret otherwise. It's kind of funny to me, but it is. So if a loan isn't paid, that payment is in default, those loans generally get boxed up and sold in bulk. Let me just tell you this. The biggest out there is Bank America. They're not going to post 500,000 loans for notice of default and take those loans to foreclosure. It ain't going to happen, right? Headline risk, the examiners make them sell, all these reasons happen. And so this has created the standard of how these loans are moved through the secondary market. Now, this is leading to a paycheck at the end for you, so stay hooked with me, okay? So these bulk buyers, these hedge funds, and they may not really be a hedge fund, but we've dealt with lots of them. I know a lot of them really, really well. And some of these operators specialize in different asset classes, like non-GSE loans that are loans that they buy and package. They typically will take some of these to foreclosure, and others of these they will aggregate and sell into smaller packages, right? You're saying, well, why would they do that? It's called month end, quarter end. They got to turn a profit. Any of you have ever worked for a public company? You got it. You understand what the issue is. You can't just make money at the end, right? You got to make money all along the way. So they liquidate some of these loans in order to do that. Therein lies the opportunity for the small operator. So these hedge funds put these assets out. We own a trade platform that does this called Notes Direct. So we own a trade platform. You can go look at 50 non-performing notes on there tonight. Now, you might want some education to learn actually what you're looking for. That might be a good idea. We've been fairly decent at that. But these assets are released in the marketplace, and then a note investor, as small as one at a time, can come in there and buy such an asset. Does this make sense? Does it help you to kind of see the waterfall of how these assets come down the mountain? How do they end up with us? How could that work? Right? It's a distribution system. So the investor comes in there, and the first thing he's going to want to do is due diligence. Like, what is it I'm looking for? What questions would I ask? What are the hard gains? What could cause me to lose my money? Right? Anybody, it's quick to figure out how you can make money. Right? It's harder to figure out how you can lose money. Right? 40 years in this business and an executive team that's bought billions of dollars in loans, we understand what's a winner and we kind of understand what's a loser. And so we've made this training business where people like Quest are very gracious to have us because we actually know what we're talking about, right? Sometimes there's gurus that are pretty good talkers, but maybe they don't know quite everything. Maybe they haven't quite been doing it for a long time. If you're going to enter this, Joseph, you want a man with gray hair teaching you this, right? I'm just saying that's the truth. Right? The man with gray hair that's been doing it for a long time has some battle scars, right? And I passionately tell you that this is what I built NoteSchool around. So you agree upon a price, and then you wire the money for the asset, and now you get the asset. Now here's a NoteSchool student. Let me tell you a little bit about this guy. This guy's name is Jay Redding. He lives in a smaller town in Indiana. I never will forget the first time I ever saw him at a class. We went and did a live class in Indianapolis. He sat there, nicest man in the world. He brought I believe his son-in-law with him, and they joined and they became long-term NoteSchool members. Okay. Now he was a seasoned landlord, and he was a real estate investor. And just to be honest with you, this looks kind of like a lot of our people because they are sick of the grind. The grind will take the life out of you. And so he wasn't wanting to grind anymore. He was looking for a way to be an investor. Now this is work, but I think it's different from saying it's a grind. So this is Jay, super good guy. This guy's a really good guy. He buys this note secured by this house. Are you okay with that house? It's not in the ghetto, is it? It's not a piece of junk. It's a good piece of collateral. Average note that we see that is delinquent right now, the house is worth about $220,000. So we're not dealing in junk ghetto properties. Note to self, that matters. Okay? So this was a house in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The house was, the value on it was $145. It's a 1,400 square foot house. I would just say that's America right there, right? That's pretty much, that's not in the pretty land of California, and it's not in Toledo, Ohio. It's just kind of normal. It's just kind of the normal stuff. It could be in Oklahoma City, or it could be in, Birmingham, or it could be in a lot of markets, but that's just kind of about what's normal, right? So he buys this loan, the legal collectible balance. Let's talk about that for a minute. What does that mean? These loans have an average delinquency of about 3 years. They haven't made a payment for 3 years. They hadn't paid their insurance. They hadn't paid their taxes. They hadn't paid their principal. They hadn't paid their interest. They hadn't paid their homeowner association. So the lender has been paying all of their bills. The lender legally has been obligated, seriously, believe this or not, they had to pay their taxes and insurance even though they weren't getting a check. Thank you, Dodd-Frank. That was a great plan for the industry. So the legal collectible balance on this loan is $85,476. Okay? That is what you are legally entitled to collect today if the loan pays off. Now, not all of that is principal. You get that? Not all of that is just interest. So when you buy that deal from the lender, all that money they've advanced, you have the legal right to collect that too. That's pretty cool, huh? So the interest rate on this loan, like the maturity rate, is 11%, and it was a 20-year loan originally. And the payment was $390 a month. Of course, they hadn't paid in seasons. Jay buys this asset for $53,000. How many of you are interested in me continuing? This is why an old dog like me is telling you, sit up, pay attention. There is a bargain in the market. This is basically the attorney for the plaintiff, the guy that's foreclosing. That would be Jay. He bought the bank's position in this deal. And Jay's legal payoff at the day of foreclosure was $85,476. Now, let me just tell you something. Jay ain't going to own that house. Most of the loans you buy, you're not going to own the house. You got an on-fire real estate market, and it sells at the courthouse steps for $85,000. It's worth $150,000. Trust me, nobody's going to be that asleep and give it the deal. Somebody else is going to buy you out. But you see, that's what makes it interesting, because in 2010, when I was training so many people, lots of Quest clients, to buy non-performing notes, there was a 100% chance you were going to end up with a house. And then you were going to find out about what's called code enforcement. And then you're going to find out about securing a vacant house to the standards that the state and the city and everybody else thinks that you need to do it. And then you're going to learn another definition called a blighted property or a blighted neighborhood. You see, that all equals a lot of work that the current market condition says I don't have to fool with. Now, I know all about those things, but what if you didn't have to deal with that? So we have this avalanche of notes on decent properties. Average value is how much? Average house value on the delinquent loans we're seeing is how much? $220,000. It's not junk, right? So Jay buys this loan, and we got two numbers that have become important. One of them is up here, 150, 145. That's what the house is worth. The loan payoff here is 85, and Jay paid 53. So the difference between what Jay paid and what he got paid off when it foreclosed, that's called profit. Are you following me? This is not a needle in a haystack. I can put you on 50 assets tonight that have very similar math. This is not like a one deal, one situation. Eddie picked through a zillion case studies to come up with that one magic number. This is a market condition. That's why Quest has me here tonight, because most people don't know about it, right? I just happen to be a seasoned guy that spent my career in this business, and I happen to know what it looks like when the train's coming down the track, right? They won't be this good a bargain in 2 years, right? A lot more people know about it. There may be more assets, but this consistent pattern won't be quite as good. That's just been my life experience. So here's the foreclosure process. Now this scares you. This is in Indiana. Indiana has this nasty process of foreclosure called a judicial foreclosure process. Does that scare y'all? Right? About half the states in the United States are judicial. About half the states are statutory. Okay? And I get students that ask me all kind of scary questions. Well, what if they file bankruptcy? And what if they do this? And what if they do that? Let me just fully tell you this. We are called a secured creditor. We're not an unsecured creditor. We're a secured creditor. If they file bankruptcy, there's very distinct processes. Even in Indiana, you can foreclose. Okay? Now, what's interesting is Jay buys this asset, and it takes longer to foreclose than it does in Texas. In Indiana, it takes about 10 months. So about 10 months to foreclose. So, Joe, you buy this deal and you got to wait 10 months, and they're accruing interest and fees and all the things that are going to increase your payoff all along the way. So you're making a pretty decent yield having to wait on it. But wait, it's like the Ginsu knife commercial. There's more. He buys this asset. 80% of the foreclosure process was already completed. What does that look like? You see, he bought it and the bank already took it this far. He only had to take it this far. So probably, I'm going to throw out a wild number here. 75% of the assets that we're seeing at the moment that we can buy, the notice of default's already been issued. The foreclosure's in process. You're saying, well, why didn't the bank just keep it? Because a lot of the press and a lot of the government has decided the banks don't need to be in the foreclosure business. And so they need somebody to take over their process. It's just call it luck. Right place at the right time. So here's the math. Jay buys a note. He pays $53. He has additional foreclosure cost of $4,200. So it's not like he didn't have any expenses. He did. Jay's all-in cost is $57,500. Loan pays off $145,000. Jay has $57,500 in it. That is his investment to value ratio. He has 57 divided by 145. If somebody else did not buy him out of the foreclosure, is he good? Right? Now, I'm just telling you, if somebody tells you that you're going to buy this note and you're going to own this property for 145 for 57.5, that's probably not true. Don't believe that. That's not a real number. But what is a real number is that Jay bought it with a collectible balance of 85 and his profit is almost $28,000 in 60 days. What's the yield on that, engineers? You know what it is? Enough. You don't need a calculator. Now that's a market deal. I don't think that's like way over the top good. I don't think it's way over the top bad. At the end, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna just stop talking and I'm gonna let you guys answer questions. I kind of have a rhythm right now, right? But I definitely am not gonna leave here until I can reasonably answer all your questions. NoteSchool teaches both sides of the business, and this was a non-performing note strategy. There's other strategies that we teach. There's other strategies we have, I would say, excessive experience in. And I would say that the best thing about somebody coming to a NoteSchool class is we're going to do a good job of painting a picture, right? We're going to show you markets. We're going to give you fair and real market conditions. I know that you've never been to some training where a guy made a 1 in a million deal sound like everyone out there was that good, right? Y'all have never seen that before, right? Yeah, right. So the other thing is I want to talk about what we teach and what is the heart of NoteSchool, okay? My father-in-law got me in this business when I was 20 years old. My father-in-law sadly passed away when he was 59 years old. That's been 25 years ago. So for 25 years, I've kept my mother-in-law in this business, right? So I got my dad in the business when he was 68 years old, and he told me thousands of times before he passed away in his mid-80s, son, I've loved this more than anything I've ever done. So I've helped legacy in this business in different ways. I have 3 kids. I have a daughter. She's a professional ballet dancer. Her husband, Matt, has worked for us for 9 years in the business, deeply involved in the business. So he understands operationally the things to do, and he's now built a portfolio on the side. I have a middle child, Wood. Wood is a fireman and a paramedic, and he deals in the land side of the business, and we focus on land. So we target people and buy land every month. I love that business. I've had a lot of experience doing that. I have a youngest son, Hudson, and Hudson works in the business on the NoteSchool side as well as on our Colonial side, our note side. So I would say that I love the business enough, I got all my kids doing it. And my kids saw that we loved it enough that they wanted to go do it. That should answer a question for you. How many of you have had a business that you wouldn't want your kids to inherit? How many house flippers own a business they wouldn't want their kids to inherit? Right? So there's something to this, right? There's a pattern I'm trying to point to you. So family legacy is a big deal to us. A grandparent, an active real estate investor. So there are very active strategies we teach. Joe, who is a student, will assure you that I can show you a strategy to earn several 100% return on an investment in a year. You're like, what? Did he say more than 100% return? I can show you how to take $1,000 and turn it into $100,000 and you'll never pay taxes on it. Am I making this up, Joe? It's financial modeling. So we teach those strategies, and that's important. That's not what I taught you tonight, but I can teach, those are things that would work depending on. So the one thing that when we start down the road with a student is we get to know them. I'm very interested in several things. Number one is not their intellect. Number one is their tolerance. Right? I try to match up a business strategy with notes that fits their personality. It fits what lets them sleep at night. Right? That's the most important. That's why you're doing this. You're not doing this for torture. You're doing it because you're trying to go do something. So I have strategies that fit a young man. I have a strategy to fit an older man, right? I've got strategies would fit grandma. I got strategies would fit a burnout landlord, right? So there's different things depending on kind of who they are and how they work. Now, this is my mother-in-law. This is Nana. She's about 85, okay? This is Martha, my wife, of now be 40 years this July. And don't tell me, I know you can't believe it. How'd that girl find me? She just got lucky. You know I'm kidding. That's Wood. Wood is a fireman. He's a paramedic. He's a grapevine fireman and a firefighter. And he takes his fireman job and paramedic job super seriously. But on the side, he does our family business, right? Now, Wood's first child, that's Colt. Now, Colt's not quite a baby now. He's 2.5, but the baby picture's cute and it does resonate. So just stick with me with the idea, right? That's our family. That's 3 generations, right? 3 generations that have all found this to be a good business. And let's talk about how it relates to things like Quest. Here is retirement accounts. Here is an HSA, health savings account. Here is educational account for little Colt called a Coverdale Educational, right? Now, Nana, I've been investing in her retirement account for a long time now, 25 years. So I've helped her build quite a good retirement account. And Nana also can invest in Colt's Coverdale Educational account. She can use that same leveraging strategy where you took $1,000 and turned it into $100,000. She can do that for little Colt. Martha, my wife, obviously, we have retirement accounts. We obviously would use a health savings account because it's a killer deal. If you're not doing it, you're just missing it. What about Wood? Wood can invest in a health savings account. Wood can do a retirement account. And Wood also, like Grandma, my wife, and great-grandma, he can invest in a Coverdale educational account. And what you find is all of these strategies start giving you the ability to have legacy. Most people want legacy. Most people believe legacy starts out with a huge pile of money. Let me just tell you, that is not true. Legacy starts out either with a huge pile of money or a huge pile of creativity. Either one of which can build legacy. And old Colt, he's just happy about the whole thing. So I want to offer you a couple of strategies tonight to move forward with us. There's a couple of different positions that you can do. One of which first is I want you to come see me at a 3-day class. I'm going to sell you a class. I'm going to make it worth your while to do it tonight. So I'm going to do that because if you do, and I've got a number of people here that have already been to a class, they will assure you that what I'm saying becomes a story. It takes a little bit to unpack it. You can't unpack this in an hour. You can't unpack it in a day. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you a chance to unpack a story with me at the end of the week. So I'm going to give you a little opportunity to do that. But for some of you, I want to make it a big opportunity because you've seen me before or you like this. You're ready to do it. You can make an investment. So let's talk about what the deliverable is super fast. I'm going to give you 2 tickets to a 3-day class. Those tickets are $2,000 each. Okay? You can bring a family member or a business partner. You can't solicit somebody in the back of the room. That's off the table. You can bring a family member or a business partner. But I have a heart for family members. I have a heart for people that have a small business that has a business partner. Secondly, when you come to the class, we're going to sit down with you on numerous sessions, not one. We're going to sit down with you on numerous sessions, and we're going to get your story. We're going to understand something about your DNA. We're going to understand something about your experience. We're going to understand something about your resources. We're going to understand something about your tolerance. We're going to grid up. We've created a grid that's been now spread over thousands of students, and we start to understand what that means. So if it's for the younger folks in here, that's a young Eddie Speed. I got a deal that would fit a young man that's aggressive and willing to go climb the hill. For some people that are older or want to be passive or just truth be told, they're just burnout landlords, I got a deal that would fit them, and that might not be exactly the same path. So the next thing is I'm going to give you several online trainings. Now you can self-pace, but these are good trainings that I built. This is called the Nothing Down Deal Architect. This is how you buy properties from burnout landlords and get them to owner finance you. And I have a lot to say about that. How to do it, how to position it, how it could work. The second thing is I'm going to give you some get started guides. So how to get to the yes and get them to carry terms, 5 steps to dictating the terms. I have a very unique strategy. I did not discuss it tonight, but I have a very unique strategy to go show you how to buy deals that every house buyer in this market and every house buyer in every market, this is the customer they're all passing up, right? Now, I've coached a lot of high volume real estate investors. Call it the top 500 in the business. At least 50% of them have been in the NoteSchool in the last couple of years. So let's just say a lot. So I know how these guys operate, but I also know what they're not doing. I also know what they're not closing. And I have kind of cracked the code on this. This was something I figured out in 5 minutes. Enough time and enough focus, I've figured this out. And this could actually change your house buying business a lot. And then prospecting penalty box buyers. How many of you, if I told you, I said there's a mortgage crisis and a credit boom and a housing boom, how many of you would believe that 30% of the people that could get a mortgage before the virus cannot get one today? Well, that tells me opportunity. That tells me they need seller financing. They need alternative lending strategies that really work. I don't have to go reach the bottom of the barrel that, let's just say the old story of the guy that can fog the mirror, he's breathing, he can qualify for a loan. I don't have to deal with him. I can deal with people that need the strategies that we can help them with. Then I'm going to give you a home study course called Rich Rewards, and that is a home study class that has a lot of, let's call it financial modeling in it related to performing notes. And then lastly, I have a home study course about non-performing notes. It's called Big Money from Bad Debts. Why does this matter? Because when you come to the class, then you're going to figure out, oh, I'd like to know this, or tell me more about this. So I'm giving you a lot of information that you may not even know that you want, and you may not want all of it. But I've gathered it up so that you got a war chest of different things that you could do depending on. You don't have to go get through all this to start the class, right? You don't have to do that. In fact, I have one thing that I want you to do to start the class with me. I'm going to give you another bonus that I didn't even put on here tonight. I'm going to give you a taped one-day class, and this was taped in late December. It's a one-day class, and it is going to allow you to have clarity before you come to a class. You can split it up and listen to it over 3 nights or whatever it is. So it's not intolerable, but it's important. Let me ask you something. Have you learned something tonight? Okay. You're going to continue to learn. This is how we teach. This is our style, right? It's logical. It's taught from experience, and it's taught in a way that people can follow it. So I've taught you how to play tonight like the hedge funds, right? That's how they do it. So people want to do that. It's just, you got to go give them a path they can follow. So if you add all this up, it's a lot of money. It's about $8,600, okay? So these are course books, and I have these course books. I don't have a course book for everybody here. So to be honest with you, I'm pretty seasoned. I've learned that you deal with people that are willing to be the action takers. There's question makers and action takers, right? So this is the course on performing notes. This is the course on non-performing notes. All of these have tutorials. All of these have a lot of training. These are follow-along books that go along with them. This is the Nothing Down Deal Architect. These are guides that are going to go along with it. I'm going to give you 2 tickets to the class. Appropriately, you can, two people can come as long as they fit the membership. I'm going to give you a 3-day live class. Now, these are virtual classes. We have not had a physical live 3-day class since the virus started. We've had, call it, several 3-day classes. We've gotten really good at this. I think in the training business, I think we've gotten just about as good at this as anybody has done it. Because what we've learned to do is an engagement with you that doesn't make you feel disconnected. And right, Sarah? That is the deal. The engagement is the deal. So we've really focused on this. My team has done an outstanding job of this. So you're going to be able to listen to it from your house, but I'm just going to tell you this. Don't buy the class if you think it's just a movie. If you're not going to engage, you're not going to go do the things that we want you to do. I'm 62 years old. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't need somebody's $1,000, right? If I can't train for people can go learn this, that's just not my passion. So we've got a good system to go do it, and you're going to be able to buy the class tonight for $9.97. I'm going to send you home with one more bonus, and that is I'm going to give you a live taped 1-day class. You're going to need that before you show up here. Am I right, Joe? When you get here, you're going to put your big boy britches on because we're going to show you a lot of stuff. It's not going to be over somebody's head. We're not inexperienced in how to train somebody and take them up the ladder. But this is not something where you're just going to lean back and think, oh, I'll just halfway pay attention. So there's some preparatory things that are important to success, right? Because I really want you to go do this. So you're going to come see me tonight. I'm going to physically get you signed up. I'm going to physically get you a book. For those of you that are online, I didn't plan for so many folks online, but apparently we have a big list online, and here's the thing, right, Sarah? I'm going to have you email me. I want you to email me at info@noteschool.com. Just info@noteschool.com. Put in the subject line, Eddie's 3-day class, right? Put your cell phone number in there in case your email gets rejected, right? Send us an email with your cell phone number and your information, and my team will get you connected. The same thing that people here live tonight have. Just email me and we'll make that happen. Okay? I'm not just sending you to a website because I'm giving you guys stuff that I don't have built on a website. Okay? So I'm saying you're either here with me tonight or you're going to email me because I'm giving you deliverables that otherwise I'm not just giving to the general public. Does that make sense? Okay. That's for you guys that are ready to move forward. This is a $1,000 investment. I'll give you $1,000 worth of paper, I'll promise you. Okay? We have a class that starts next Friday. We have a class that starts in mid-February. So either one will fit you. If you're online, I'm going to give you till midnight tonight. If you're here, I'm going to give you till about 15 minutes after we're done. This is not, if you need to think about it, it's no problem. But I am offering this deal with this financial advantage for people that are in a position to make a decision. No hard feelings if you're not. I just am saying that's where we're at. Okay? By the way, I've taught a lot of people, and I figured out one thing. People that will stammer around and never make a decision will never do a deal. People that will pull the trigger and move forward with something will end up the same people that do a deal. I've just learned it. I've experienced it. Now, what about for all of the rest of you? Right? Eddie, I love it. I'm not emotionally in a point to commit to a $1,000 commitment yet, but I want to do something. Okay? So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to send you to a registration page this Friday from 3 to 5. You are going to come hang out with me, and we're going to have a round table. It'll be virtual, but we're going to have a round table, and we're just going to take every concept that I've discussed tonight, and we're going to take it to a different level. Okay? So it's this Friday. You're going to fill out the form. So there's John, there's Doe, there's your email, there's your mobile number. Don't miss putting anything in because some of the things we're going to text you, some of the things we're going to email. I don't know if y'all have heard about this, but they have these things called junk boxes in email. And if you just give us your email, then the odds of us miscommunicating with you or not getting you what we want you to have gets less. So I'm asking you for 2 forms of communication, right? You're also going to be able to type in there the things that you would like to know. Now, you are limited to 125 characters, okay? So if you need to type something that's longer than 125 characters, you can just email info and say, these are additional questions. But you probably don't. Just figure out a way to make it concise, right? But I want the round table to answer what it is your questions are about, right? I'm giving you this. Everybody know how a QR code works? You're going to pull your cell phone out. Everybody's going to pull their cell phone out. If you're online, you can pull your cell phone out. You're going to take a picture of that, right? That's where the registration page is. So you're just going to simply take your phone, just like you're at a restaurant looking at a menu, and you're going to pull it up, and that's how you're going to get the information. Okay? That's a landing page. You've got it. This is my gift for you for hanging out with me tonight. Virtually, no problem. You guys know how to do it. Literally hold it up to your computer screen, right? Take a picture. It's going to take you to the landing page. You're going to get, when you sync this information, you're going to get a confirmation code. That confirmation code is going to essentially look like this. And it's going to confirm we are registering you for a webinar, and it's 3 to 5 Central Time this Friday. So we're registering you for a webinar, and we're just going to take every concept that we've said tonight, and we're just going to unpack it. We're going to take it to a deeper level. We're going to say, what does that look like? How does that work? We're going to, within reason, answer questions, whatever it is. So all of the things that are like, you'd like to know this, or how does that work, or what can that look like, and all that stuff, those are the things that we're going to discuss, right? We're going to discuss non-performing notes. We're going to discuss, call it kind of a secret strategy to buy properties from landlords that not a single real estate investor in this town, other than a NoteSchool student, is doing. I've got a very unique strategy. Every big-time house buyer in every market, the most solicited customer are frustrated landlords. That is the most solicited list in the business. What we've discovered is about 25% of them really investigate selling their house, and 75% of them that are sick of the house and ready to get rid of it don't sell. I've cracked the code on how to get them to sell. So if you're interested in the punchline to that, then come out, hang out with me on Friday, and I'm going to show you why that's true. Now, we teach this to a lot of investors, so this isn't like it's not some mystical thing. It's just a story that we have to unpack. We have to build some story to where the punchline makes sense. But if you're interested in that and not being and chasing the herd like everybody else, then there's some ways to make this work. Then we're also going to talk about, on Friday, we're also going to talk about some ways of making investments and recapitalizing even within a retirement account. So if you had $100,000 in a retirement account, theoretically, you could buy 100 notes. That's a lot more powerful than just trying to go make a fortune before you ever start buying. So we're going to talk about some leveraging strategies in various ways. So this is really critical that we take some time and slow it down, because these are things that we don't know until we see it. We don't know what we don't know until we learn it, right? These are things that I have spent a 40-year career learning. These are things that I think most people like Quest, most of their staff would look at it and say, this is stuff that our clients really love when they go down the path and they learn how to do it. So these are options that I want to show us that it just takes some time. So I blocked off some time Friday to go do this. Obviously, if you're you guys online, we're excited to see you and excited to have you here. And we're pretty good at virtual too. So you guys don't feel like you're being left out because you happen to be virtual tonight, because we'll make that work as well. Okay, so there's the QR code. Those of you, when we finish up tonight, those of you, I have a sign-up form for those of you that are ready to do a class. Those of you that want to do a class online, you can just email info@NoteSchool. Just put Eddie's class. Make sure we got enough information to contact you, which is essentially your name, cell phone number, and email. And we'll get you started with a sign-up form. So we'll be able to accommodate folks like that. So I've baked a little time into it to answer a few questions. We're not going to go long. I'm not going to keep you here if you don't need to. What burning thing do you need answered before Friday? Let me ask you that. What burning thing do you need answered before Friday? You had a question earlier.
We have a mic in the back here.
So why would the person that bought the note for 53 sell it for 27 and not 85?
He made $28,000 profit. He took it through to foreclosure, and somebody stood on the courthouse steps and they bid more than the payoff of the loan. So from his investment to his payoff was a $28,000 spread. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No worries. Yes, sir.
But that guy, the person, Jay, that owned that note, he would have been in a pretty good say, hey, I'll give you 90, I'll give you 5,000 to get out. It's better than having the
Yeah.
sheriff take it.
I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
That's way too equitable of a loan. If he was owed 80% of the property balance, I would say that strategy would be more realistic. That deal is so equitable, you're not going to end up owning the property, right? I fully understand every kind of workout angle known to man, but this deal was so equitable that that's not going to happen. Just being honest with you, just the odds. I mean, listen, he makes almost 30 grand on a $53,000 investment in 60 days. Who's complaining? He crushed it, right? And once again, there's a lot of loans in this market right now that are going to fit those categories. What else? Joe?
I guess Jay could have been on his own property and paid more.
Sometimes guys don't outthink the deal. Okay, I can tell you, I could give you, I've been doing this 40 years. I can tell you 1,000 what ifs. What he did was a smart thing to do. He invested $53,500. He had $57,500 in it. He gets a payoff for $85 grand. Who needs to complain? He's good. We could what if it to death, Joe.
He didn't want to own the house.
That just wasn't where the juice was, right? He's competing against some guy buying it foreclosure. He could have bid more than what he was owed, and he's just another bidder at the foreclosure. He could have legally done that. He has the right to go bid on the house just like everybody else, but once his loan's paid off, he's just bidding like everybody else. That probably would not have been his smartest play. Now, there could be deals that you would do that, right? What else? All right, Sarah, here's how it's going to work, okay? I'm going to let you come finish up. I've got some stuff. The people that are ready to sign up within it's fine. I would love to see everybody on Friday. I've made it pretty simple to go sign up, and we're just going to have a couple of hours of what does this look like? How does this work? Is that fair? Thank you all.
Thanks. Let's give Eddie a round of applause. I really appreciate you coming out here tonight, Eddie, and also everyone as well here tonight. Thank you so much. I definitely would encourage you to get signed up for this. You know, all the speakers that we do bring out here, we bring them out to help provide value to you guys in your self-directed IRA. You know, everything that he taught tonight is things that you can use and information that you can use to help your retirement. Do go ahead and get signed up. If you want to take advantage of, the offer that he provided, feel free to speak to him in the back. I'm sure he'll be able to get you squared away. If you want to get signed up for the expo as well, we'll be here to help you out. But thank you again for joining us. We will see you next month at the Self-Directed IRA Social.